Preparing for a product management at Meta interview? You've reached Candy Mentor, and this video is for you. We'll walk through 20 key questions you're likely to face. For each question you'll see a sample answer followed by the key points to cover. Subscribe, like, and share, and drop a topic request in the comments. Question 1. How would you improve Instagram for teenagers? I would start by clarifying the target teen segment, use case, and business objective. If the goal is healthier engagement, I might propose better recommendation controls, visible time use feedback, and safer discovery. I would validate the problem through interviews and cohort data, then prototype one intervention. Success means improved reported well-being without reducing meaningful connections. I would run an experiment, monitor retention, session quality, reports, and team feedback, while partnering with safety and research teams. While answering, clarify the target segment and problem, distinguish healthy engagement from raw usage, consider safety and well-being, propose focused solutions, define success metrics, and explain validation through research and experimentation. Question 2. Why do you want to work as a product manager at Meta? I'm drawn to Meta because its products operate at extraordinary scale while shaping how people communicate. The role combines user empathy, rigorous experimentation, and difficult trade-offs around privacy, safety, and monetization. I would bring structured problem framing, analytical habits, and comfort collaborating with engineering, design, data science, and policy. I also respect Meta's mission and would evaluate whether a proposal creates durable user value, not merely short-term engagement. Make sure to connect personal motivation with Meta's mission, global scale, product ecosystem, experimentation culture, and complex trade-offs involving privacy, safety, monetization, and long-term user value. Question 3. What metrics would you use to measure the success of a new Facebook Groups feature? I'd begin with the feature's job, such as helping members find relevant discussions. Primary metrics could include qualified weekly participation, meaningful replies, and member retention. I'd add funnel metrics for discovery, activation, and repeat use, then segment by new versus existing members and group size. Guardrails should include reports, spam exposure, negative feedback, and notification fatigue. I would avoid optimizing comments alone because volume can rise while conversation quality declines. In your answer, separate the product goal from metric selection, cover activation, quality engagement, retention, creator and member outcomes, guardrails such as spam, and segmentation by group type and user cohort. Question 4. How would you prioritize competing opportunities for WhatsApp? I would score opportunities against user impact, strategic fit, reach, confidence, effort, and urgency, but use the framework to support judgment rather than replace it. A privacy improvement might outrank a growth feature despite lower visible reach because it protects trust and reduces long-term risk. I'd review dependencies with engineering and legal, identify the smallest valuable milestone, and communicate what we are not doing. After launch, evidence should update the ranking. Be sure to mention user impact, strategic alignment, reach, confidence, effort, urgency, platform constraints, and safety implications. Explain how you would compare initiatives transparently and revisit decisions with evidence. Question 5. Design a product that helps people build meaningful connections on Facebook. I'd target adults who want local friendships but lack recurring opportunities to meet people. The product could recommend small interest-based circles, provide lightweight conversation prompts, and support gradual movement from online discussion to safe events. The MVP would test whether recommendations create repeat interactions, not just sign-ups. I'd measure meaningful two-way conversations, 4-week retention, event attendance, and user-reported connection quality. Privacy controls, moderation, and location safety would be essential from day one. Focus on a clearly defined user need, choose a specific audience, map the end-to-end journey, address cold start and network effects, propose a minimum viable experience, and include quality, privacy, and safety metrics. Question 6. Tell me about a time you disagreed with an engineer or designer. On one project, an engineer opposed my proposal to add a complex onboarding flow because it would increase latency and maintenance cost. Instead of debating opinions, I asked what user problem the flow solved and reviewed funnel data together. We discovered that one unclear permission step caused most drop-off. We simplified that step, tested a smaller intervention, and improved activation without adding architectural complexity. The experience reinforced that disagreement often reveals a better problem definition. Structure the story with context, disagreement, evidence, collaboration, decision, and result. Demonstrate humility, active listening, clear product principles, and willingness to change your position when new information appears. Question 7. How would you investigate a sudden drop in Instagram engagement? First, I'd verify that the decline is real rather than an instrumentation or dashboard issue. Then I'd segment by platform, geography, app version, cohort, surface, and engagement type. I'd compare the timing with launches, ranking changes, outages, policy changes, and external events. Working with data science and engineering, I'd trace the funnel from session start to content interaction. I would communicate ranked hypotheses, contain obvious regressions, and only scale a fix after confirming causality. Explain how you would verify the metric, isolate affected cohorts, examine releases and external factors, check instrumentation, compare funnel stages, partner with technical teams, and communicate hypotheses before recommending action. Question 8. How would you launch a new monetization feature without damaging user trust? I'd begin with a value exchange users can understand, such as relevant business recommendations that save time. Participation and data use must be transparent, controllable, and consistent with privacy expectations. I'd launch to a small cohort, compare revenue per user with retention, satisfaction, ad quality, hides, reports, and permission changes. Legal, privacy, and integrity reviews would happen before rollout. If monetization increases while trust deteriorates, I would pause and redesign rather than optimize the short-term result. Discuss user value, transparent value exchange, privacy and consent, targeting limits, gradual rollout, experimentation, revenue metrics, trust guardrails, regulatory review, and mechanisms for users to control or report the experience. Question 9. Estimate the annual number of messages sent through WhatsApp in India. I'd estimate India's population at 1.4 billion and assume 55% are active WhatsApp users, giving roughly 770 million users. If each sends or receives 35 messages daily, that is about 27 billion message events per day. Multiplying by 365 produces approximately 9.9 trillion annually. I'd clarify whether the question counts sent messages or total deliveries, because group messages and media may be treated differently. I'd present the range, perhaps 8 to 12 trillion. Make your assumptions explicit, segment the population logically, estimate active users and daily send frequency, show arithmetic, sanity check the result, and identify variables that could materially change the estimate. Question 10. How would you decide whether Meta should build a feature or acquire a company? I'd compare the options against strategic importance, differentiated capability, time to market, cost, integration risk, and regulatory exposure. Building is preferable when the capability is core, learnable, and tightly coupled to our infrastructure. Acquiring may make sense when a team has unique technology, network effects, or a large lead. I'd validate assumptions through technical diligence, customer research, prototypes, and financial scenarios. The decision should include a post-deal integration plan, not just purchase rationale. Cover strategic fit, user value, capability gaps, time to market, integration complexity, talent, economics, regulatory concerns, and build versus buy assumptions. Explain how you would validate uncertainty before recommending a path. Question 11. How would you improve Meta's creator monetization products? I'd segment creators by size, content type, and monetization maturity because their needs differ. For emerging creators, predictable eligibility guidance and simple earning tools may matter most. Established creators may need diversified revenue and better audience insights. I'd test improvements such as clearer payout explanations, subscriptions, and brand matching. Success would include active earning creators, sustainable creator retention, audience satisfaction, and advertiser outcomes. Guardrails should monitor low-quality content, fraud, and incentives that reward harmful engagement. Identify creator segments and jobs, distinguish acquisition from retention and earnings, consider incentives for quality content, propose experiments, include platform and advertiser value, and address transparency, fraud, and creator sustainability. Question 12. Describe how you would run an A/B test for a new newsfeed ranking change. I'd state a falsifiable hypothesis, such as ranking more posts from close connections will improve meaningful interactions. Users would be randomized into control and treatment groups, with stable assignment and enough duration to capture repeat behavior. The primary metric might be quality interactions, while guardrails include hides, reports, session satisfaction, and creator reach. I'd check power, novelty effects, and cohort differences before deciding. A positive average result would not justify rollout if vulnerable groups experience harm. Mention hypothesis, treatment and control design, randomization, primary and guardrail metrics, experiment duration, novelty effects, statistical power, heterogeneous impacts, ethical concerns, and criteria for rollout or rollback. Question 13. What would you do if a successful experiment improved engagement but increased misinformation? I would not ship the experiment based on engagement alone. I'd quantify the misinformation increase, identify affected languages and communities, and determine whether ranking, content supply, or reporting gaps caused it. With integrity, research, and policy teams, I'd test stronger down-ranking, context labels, source quality signals, or narrower eligibility. The decision would weigh meaningful user value against harm and trust erosion. If safeguards cannot reduce the risk, I'd reject the experiment or redesign its objective. Show that you would not accept engagement blindly, quantify severity, protect users, consult integrity experts, investigate causal mechanisms, add guardrails or targeting changes, and define a decision based on long-term trust. Question 14. How would you increase adoption of threads while preserving a healthy conversation environment? I'd focus on users seeking timely public conversation, then improve the path from discovery to a first valuable interaction. Interoperability with existing social graphs can reduce cold start friction, while creator tools and topic discovery build supply. I'd optimize for retained users who have meaningful exchanges, not downloads alone. Health metrics should include follows, replies, repeat participation, content diversity, reports, blocks, and harassment exposure. Growth experiments must preserve user controls and strong moderation capacity. Address target users, differentiated value, onboarding, network effects, creator and consumer liquidity, cross-platform distribution, moderation, ranking, retention, and guardrail metrics beyond downloads or daily active users. Question 15. Tell me about a product failure and what you learned from it. I once launched a reporting dashboard that customers rarely used. We assumed more charts meant more value, but had not observed how managers made decisions. Usage was low and onboarding support increased. I interviewed users, learned they needed alerts and recommended actions, and rebuilt the first version around those workflows. Adoption improved substantially after the redesign. I learned to validate the job before polishing the solution and now test prototypes with representative users earlier. Choose a specific example, explain your ownership, distinguish assumptions from evidence, quantify the outcome, acknowledge mistakes without blame, and show how the learning changed future discovery, prioritization, or execution. Question 16. How would you balance privacy with personalization in Meta's products? I'd start by asking what user benefit personalization creates and whether it requires each data element proposed. I would minimize collection, separate sensitive attributes, provide understandable controls, and explain recommendations clearly. Where possible, I'd use aggregation, on-device processing, or privacy-preserving measurement. Privacy and legal partners should review the design before testing, not after launch. I'd measure trust, control usage, complaints, and retention alongside relevance, because personalization that feels invasive can destroy durable value. Discuss user benefit, data minimization, consent, transparency, controls, sensitive attributes, differential risk, aggregate measurement, privacy review, experimentation limits, and how trust becomes a long-term product metric. Question 17. How would you respond if senior leadership asked your team to accelerate a roadmap commitment? I would first clarify why the date matters and what outcome leadership needs. Then I'd map critical scope, dependencies, staffing, and risks, separating must-have functionality from polish. I might offer options: ship a narrower MVP, add resources, or move the date. I would not hide quality, privacy, or integrity risks to create an artificial commitment. After alignment, I'd document owners and decision points, communicate progress frequently, and revisit the plan when evidence changes. Demonstrate calm prioritization, clarify the business reason, quantify scope and risk, offer options, protect quality and safety, communicate trade-offs, and align stakeholders on what changes if the deadline remains fixed. Question 18. How would you improve the Facebook Marketplace experience for buyers and sellers? I'd identify the largest friction by separating buyers and sellers across the journey. Sellers may struggle with quality listings and trustworthy inquiries, while buyers may struggle with relevance, confidence, and pickup coordination. I'd prioritize structured listings, better search filters, reputation signals, scam detection, and safer communication. Marketplace health depends on completed successful transactions, not messages or listings alone. I'd track conversion, time to match, repeat usage, disputes, fraud, and satisfaction by category and geography. Cover both sides of the marketplace: trust and safety, discovery, listing quality, liquidity, communication, transactions, local constraints, supply-demand balance, and metrics for successful outcomes rather than mere activity. Question 19. How would you evaluate an AI-powered feature for Meta's products? I'd begin with a concrete user job, not an AI novelty, such as helping creators draft captions faster. Evaluation would combine task success, factuality, user preference, latency, cost, and repeat adoption. I'd test performance across languages, accessibility needs, and vulnerable groups, while reviewing privacy and misuse risks. The experience should disclose AI involvement, offer editing and feedback controls, and degrade safely when confidence is low. I'd launch incrementally with human review for higher-risk outputs. Include the user problem, model capability and limitations, quality evaluation, human expectations, latency and cost, privacy, fairness, misuse, explainability, experimentation, and fallback experiences when the model is uncertain. Question 20. What does good product leadership look like at Meta? Good product leadership means creating clarity when goals, evidence, and opinions conflict. I would define the user problem, connect it to strategy, make trade-offs explicit, and give cross-functional partners real ownership. At Meta's scale, speed must coexist with privacy, safety, and operational discipline. I'd communicate decisions directly, measure outcomes rather than activity, and change course when data contradicts my assumptions. Strong leaders also develop others so product judgment compounds beyond their individual projects. Highlight mission alignment, clear strategy, informed decision-making, user empathy, cross-functional influence, speed with responsibility, direct communication, measurable outcomes, talent development, and willingness to revise decisions using evidence. If you are still with us, congratulations, you are much ahead of the rest and serious about preparing for your interview. We hope we were able to add value to your preparation and create some helpful content. Do not forget to like and share this video. Your small act can do great things for us.